Before we get going on the Stingray Show this evening, I do need to make one clarification. Our guest this evening is up in Baltimore calling the Oriole game, so he requested that we do this interview this past Monday. So here is our interview with our good friend Ben McDonald, who requested that we do this interview on Monday. There he is, my friend.
Can you hear it?
Yes, sir. How are you
All
doing?
right. We good. I was trying to get these earphones hooked up, but I can't make them work. But I can hear you over the speaker of the phone.
So you're up in Baltimore?
Yes. I left early this morning. Of course, I did those 3 games this weekend between Arkansas and LSU, and then had to turn and bolt and get up here and start. I got about a 2-week run here, 2.5 weeks, and I'll be back in time for regionals and super regionals and the College World Series. So
dang it! Yeah. I hate that you're not going to be there at Hoover next week.
I know. I bowed out of it last year and did so again this year. It just got to be too much. You know what I mean? Right. Like it's when you got to do 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday, 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday, and then you come home and you start regionals and you got 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday, and it was like, heck, it was like 8 double headers in 12 days, and I'm like, I mean, it just started just wearing on me, and and plus the Orioles were hitting me up, wanting me to do more Oriole games. I'm doing 90 of those with those guys this year. And so it just ended up that way. But I still get the best of both worlds where I'm doing Oriole stuff and I'm calling the playoffs, which is fun. And I get about, I don't know, I think I've done 7 regular season games this year, SEC. That's all I've seen is 7 games. So I haven't seen many. I've seen Texas, LSU, Arkansas, Mississippi State early. I saw them their very first series against Texas, and that's it. That's all I've seen in person.
Right. So Ben, how long do I have with you? Can you give me 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think we can do 30 minutes. Yeah. Because I got to be at that. Yeah, I got to be at that meeting at 4:00 my time, which is an hour and a half from now, and I got to get down the road to do that. So yeah, 30 minutes will be plenty.
Okay. You are about to be locked inside the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to be talking all things SEC baseball, as this is the upcoming last regular season series for all 16 teams in the SEC before we start the tournament in Hoover, regionals, and super regionals. Ben McDonald, the former LSU pitcher, who is also a part of the Baltimore Orioles organization, will join us right after this open, right here on the Stingray Show, to give us a breakdown of SEC baseball right now on the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside the Wednesday evening edition of the Stingray Show. We are so close to the final weekend of the regular season in SEC baseball. And here to break down SEC baseball going into the final regular season weekend, the tournament in Hoover, regionals and super regionals. Here is our good friend who is also a Baltimore Oriole and former Golden Spikes Award winner from LSU. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only and always entertaining Ben McDonald. Ben, how are things with you up in Baltimore, Maryland?
Good afternoon. It's always great to be back with you guys. Everything's good, man. I hopped on a plane early this morning and, of course, got rerouted. Had to land in D.C. and then take a car over here to Baltimore, but I made it. It was a long weekend, as you guys know, because LSU and Arkansas finished up game one of that series, as you know, at 1:17 in the morning on Friday. So we didn't get much sleep on Friday night. Back to the ballpark Saturday, and, of course, a long 4-hour game yesterday, and is back on the airplane for me. So, yeah, this time of the year, guys, it's just ripping and running and go, go, go. Yeah. I enjoy it when they say play ball, but the hell with all this travel, man. That's all I can say. But, hey, you got to travel to get there. But when they say play ball, man, I'm all in. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And, this is my last weekend of doing the SEC stuff. I'll be doing Oriole stuff for the final weekend in the SEC tournament as well. But I'll be watching from a distance for the rest of the year for sure.
So, Ben, before we dive into anything this upcoming weekend, you were on the call on Sunday when the LSU coach gets tossed by the official, and you kind of had an issue with it because there wasn't really a warning given to him. Give us your thoughts on Johnson getting thrown out there versus Arkansas.
Well, I mean, I always ask for umpires, and I'm okay with getting thrown out of a ball game. If you cross the line, I'm okay with that, right? But in these big top 10 matchups, guys, and this was the 10th top 10 matchup in college baseball this year, and 9 of them have been in the SEC. That's how crazy this year has been. But anyway, in a big game, in a big moment, in a big series, 2 top 10s, I want to see the umpires have a little bit more feel for the game. And maybe if you missed the call, it's okay to say I missed the call, and the head coach goes back to the dugout. But when you miss the call and then they give you a little grief from the dugout, which is what's going to happen, you got to have a little bit of thicker skin, in my opinion. Now, if Jay Johnson would have run out there and screamed and hollered and cussed and jumped up and down and spit on the guy and threw his hat on the floor, okay, throw him out of the ball game. I get it, but he was in the dugout and they were just hooting at each other a little bit. He throws him out of a ball game. So to me, that's just a little bit much, and that's kind of how I said on the air. Like, that was a really quick toss,
Ben, you've seen a ton of baseball. What is the worst ejection you've ever seen? The smallest thing that got someone ejected? Because I'm sure there's something that you have a fun story telling about someone getting ejected for almost nothing.
Well, I mean, here's what you learn the more you're around the game. There's history with a lot of these umpires, players, and there's history with programs. There's history with head coaches. And unfortunately, we can't let those things go. We got to bring those with us, unfortunately, when we go. And so there are some umpires out there that are great. I mean, really good SEC umpires. But there's also the ones out there, and I won't mention any names, that I feel like hold grudges from weekend to weekend, too. And they look for a reason to try to escalate things. And that's what I want umpires to do, is to de-escalate things, not escalate things. So, and have a little bit of feel for these big moments and these big games and these big situations. And even these players, man, they get so excited. I'll give you another example. I saw on a highlight when Jerry Jones hit the walk-off homer against Tennessee, and he stood at home plate and watched it at 1:17 in the morning. He knew it was gone. Well, the umpires grabbed him and hooting at him, telling him to run. You got to run. And I'm like, let the kid enjoy the moment. He's not showing up the other team. He's just enjoying the moment of a walk-off home run, straightaway center field. And why can't the kids have fun a little bit, as opposed to, hey, you got to get down the line. And Jerry Jones, I asked Jared, I said, what'd you tell the umpire? He said, man, the damn game's over. Can I just enjoy this? Because he just hit straightaway center field, and so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, cuss words will get you in trouble. Arguing balls and strikes will get you in trouble. And just most umpires, guys, are really good. They're understanding. If you go out and say, hey, explain this to me. I don't agree with this call. Can you explain to me what you saw here? But if you go out there and there's history there and there's some four-letter words said, there's a good chance you get tossed out. But I didn't think that was the case yesterday with Jay Johnson. And look, he's not the only one. I've seen some other guys get thrown out for reasons. I'm going, man, I just don't think that hit the egregious part where you needed to be thrown out of a game.
I'm going to have a quick follow-up. Look, I'm going to turn 50 this year, but I feel like umpires today are just not as good as they were, say, like 15, 20 years ago. It just seems like they're kind of missing that little element of what's really happening and kind of what you talked about, coaches having grudges or a rivalry between schools or, even at the major league level. It just seems like these guys have got a little bit of a quick hook and they don't always get it. And that's what bothers me. Am I wrong with that assessment?
No, I don't think you're totally wrong with that. I think there are umpires, unfortunately, out there that think people are coming to the stands and sitting in the seats to watch them. And that's where a lot of them go wrong. Ain't nobody showing up to watch the damn umpires. I'm just telling you that. But some of them think that they are, and they want to make a scene and get on TV. I feel like that sometimes. And I think that's wrong. For me, when I don't even know the umpires' names, I don't mention them one time during a ball game, that's when they did a good job. That's when they were consistent. Now, I will say this about calling balls and strikes. In today's game, with the velocities, and I see it up here at the MLB level, and I see it at the collegiate level. With today's velocities, the movements, the shapes on certain balls, I feel like it is harder than it's ever been to be a consistent strike zone caller because of everything. Like 25 years ago, guys weren't throwing nearly as hard. We didn't have as much movement and shapes and spins and balls going this way and that way and this way. Now we got all this in the game, and I think it is harder for some umpires to be able to consistently call the strike zone because of the velocity and the movements of the ball, and I think that's why Major League Baseball next year is going to go to that system where you can check a couple of times, where they got the box in there, and if it in and out of the box, you can appeal it if you want to, and you can check it. I think that's coming, and if it comes to Major League Baseball, trust me, it will eventually trickle down to college baseball as well.
So, Ben, hold that thought because we are up against our first break. And when we come back, we are going to dive into some of the teams this year in the SEC in college baseball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. Ben McDonald, the former Golden Spikes Award winner down at LSU, will continue with us right after this. Do you currently have a bass fishing lake, but you're not happy with the size of bass that are coming out of the lake? Springtime is the perfect time to stock your lake with fish that will help you grow larger bass. Currently, right now, from Honey Hole Fisheries, they can offer threadfin shad, copper-nosed bluegill, minnows, golden shiners, and tilapia to help grow larger bass in your lake. You can contact Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is 799-0192. Honey Hole Fisheries also offers Texas Hunter fish feeders. Contact him today to grow bigger bass in your dream lake. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Ben McDonald, the former Golden Spikes Award winner down at LSU. And Ben, I do have to ask you, when someone introduces you as the Golden Spikes Award winner, how satisfying is that for you?
Oh, wow. Well, it means more now than it did then. It's one of those accomplishments that it's an individual award, obviously, but it's really a team accomplishment. You got to be on a good team typically, and you got to have other really good ball players. And I did way back in 1989. And so it wasn't all about me, although I ended up getting the award. But yeah, it's when we talk about the Golden Spikes Award, it's the Heisman Trophy of college baseball. That's what it is. It's the Heisman. And only one guy can win it a year, obviously. And so it means a lot. It meant a lot then, but it means a lot more now when you look back on it and you see all the names on there before me and even after me now and all the great players. It's certainly something I look at and I'm very, very
Where's
proud
your Golden
of.
Spikes trophy, Ben?
My Golden Spikes trophy is at my house in my office in there where I got a few jerseys, my Olympic jersey, the Olympic gold medal, my Oriole, my LSU jerseys, my basketball jersey at LSU. I got a few jerseys that are matted in there, and it's in there in the office with the rest of them. And I'm allowed to have that kind of stuff. And there's no deer heads allowed in my house. My wife makes sure that all the deer heads are up at the camp in Mississippi, but I do get to keep my jerseys and my Golden Spikes Award at the house anyway.
So, Ben, let's go to this season on the diamond. The preseason #1 team, Texas A&M, falls out of the #1 and out of the top 25 the quickest of anybody in the history of college baseball. Then they have a little bit of a win streak going, and then this past weekend, they lose and get swept by Missouri. What in the world is going on, in your opinion, down at Texas A&M?
That's a great question. I mean, it just fits into this crazy year that we're having in the SEC, and look, I said this the other day to Dave Neal off air. I said, if Texas A&M does not make the NCAA tournament, will this be the biggest upset in the history of college baseball? I think it will, because I cannot, and we were sitting there trying to remember, I cannot remember the #1 preseason team in everybody's poll. Like all the podcasts I listen to, and I love the D1 guys, but like in March and February, they made it sound like everybody else is playing for second place. Like Texas A&M is going to win everything, and everybody, just no matter who's going to finish second, third, and fourth, because A&M's winning the College World Series. And you go from that to not even in the top 25, and then you rebound and you get it going, and it looked like they turned the corner, and it all came together, and they looked really, really good. Knocked off LSU last weekend, 2-3, but then you get to host Missouri, who is 0-24 in conference, and you get swept at College Station. So for me, right now, Texas A&M has played themselves out of the NCAA tournament. They are on the outside looking in right now. Look in the RPI, and I think it's updated, guys, and y'all probably look too, but Texas A&M is 60 right now in the RPI. They have no chance. Now, the good news for them, they got Georgia, and Georgia's a good team, and they got to go to Athens to play Georgia this weekend. Now, if they knock off Georgia and find a way, and they win 2 out of 3, and then make a little bit of a run in Hoover, they could potentially get in. But they're sitting, guys, at 10 wins right now. We know the magic number year after year, if you got a good strength of schedule, and they do, 13 wins in the regular season typically gets you an NCAA bid. They're at 10 right now, which means if they win 2 out of 3, that's 12. And you go to Hoover and maybe you win a couple games, you get to 14 overall SEC wins. I think you can make the case they can get in. But listen, that's not going to be easy to do. We know how good Georgia is at home. And then we also know, I mean, Georgia's phenomenal at home, and they really hit the ball. And then you got to go to Hoover, and who knows who you match up with. Now it's single elimination, too. So, listen, it's an uphill climb for me for Texas A&M.
Ben, looking at, we're seeing something this year in college baseball, mainly in the SEC, that we really don't see that often. A coach let go early, and it's all because of the NIL, and you want to get in front of things and let this thing be known. But if you were the athletic director at Mississippi State, if you were Zach Selman, who are the first 3 phone calls you're going to call for a head coach to come to Starkville?
Wow. Look, I think of Mississippi State as one of the top 5 coaching jobs in the entire country. I just think the fan base, the history, the way they love their baseball, like you couldn't ask for a better job. And so that's a great question. You wonder if they're going to try to steal somebody away from the SEC, an SEC caliber team, or if they're going to go outside the box. And are they going to go with a veteran coach? Are they going to go with a younger guy that's kind of starting over? All those questions. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what direction they're going to go. They could go a couple different routes on that. So and I hate it for Coach Lemonis because I always liked him. I enjoyed him. In my opinion, you hate to see somebody get fired in the middle of a season like that, especially a team now that, where they're sitting right now, they got a chance to get in a tournament. They got 12 wins right now in conference play. But you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head with this. With the NIL, the portal, all those things coming up very quick. When you make a coaching change, you want to make it before all that hits, because these kids that are out there now in the portal, they don't want to come to your school if they don't even know who the head coach is going to be. They don't, they won't even entertain the thought. And so if you wait till after the season's over and out to the College World Series and make a coaching change, then, the portal's done by then. So you got to make sure you get your guy in-house quickly. Now, here's the bottom part about that. The weird thing about it is, if it's a team that's going to be in the NCAA tournament and a coach that's in the NCAA tournament right now, they're going to have to announce it so the kids know. And it's going to be a very awkward situation for whoever that coach is and whatever team he's coaching at right now to be announcing, oh, by the way, yeah, boys, we're going to the NCAA tournament. And when it's all over, I'm going to Mississippi State. That's going to be very awkward for whoever that is. So I'm wondering if they're going to try to keep that quiet. But I don't know how quiet they can keep it because of the NIL situation, the portal situation. These kids that are out there and these recruits that they have signed and other recruits that are out there, they're going to want to know who's the next head coach at Mississippi State.
A quick follow-up to that. I loved what LSU did a couple of years ago when they went and got Jay Johnston. And I believe that is exactly the blueprint Mississippi State should follow. Go find you a Power 4 coach who's succeeding. And look, LSU was missing some pitching and hitting pieces, and he came from Arizona, and they had some pitching and hitting pieces, and they basically combined Arizona and LSU's team there to take home in Baton Rouge. And, man, turn around year one, year two, you're in Omaha making big things happen. I think that is the recipe that all SEC teams should follow. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I don't think so. Look, now with the portal being what it is, guys, I think where the coach is coming from and what kind of players he has on his team right now matter on a coaching decision. Because you figure if you go get a guy somewhere and he's got 2 or 3 studs that are coming back next year, that might sway you to go take that guy versus another coach over here who really doesn't have a lot of great players on his team. So you may say, hey, I'm going to get this coach because he's got 2 or 3 studs coming back. I can bring those guys into the fold right away, and they're going to be big parts of my team. I think that matters in today's world, and that's why I'm starting to see ADs are going after guys at big-time programs that have big-time kids within that program. There's going to be obviously a lot of guys that want a state job. Like I said, it's one of the best. A guy that comes to mind is Cliff Godwin over at ECU, a mid-major team that seems to always be in the NCAA tournament. They were in a super regional just a few years back. Like, he's always there. He's an ex-Ole Miss guy, coached at LSU a little bit, Ole Miss for a long time. I think he would understand what it is to play and coach in the SEC, and that's a big piece for me too, is that even Jay Johnson, who came from Arizona, and everybody told him how difficult the SEC was, and he knew about it, and yeah. But then he admitted after the first year, what I thought I knew about the SEC, I really didn't understand how difficult and what this 30-game grind of a regular season is. He said, I knew about it, I studied it, I talked to 1 million people, but he said, until you actually go through it and experience it, you can't even really explain it. And that's kind of how the season's been this year. So I think it's going to be somebody that's familiar with SEC baseball, that's maybe been an assistant coach. That's the route that I would go with, a program that's been successful and some really good players.
And we are up against another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue to talk with Ben McDonald about the current situation of SEC baseball. We will be right back. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Baltimore Oriole and former LSU Golden Spikes Award winner, Ben McDonald. Before the break, Ben was talking about his biggest disappointment team, and that was Texas A&M. Now let's continue the interview with Ben McDonald about who has been a positive surprise team for Ben McDonald this season in SEC baseball. So, Ben, just a few seconds ago or a minute ago or so, you mentioned the disappointment of Texas A&M. But let's go to the other side. Give us a team or a couple of teams that have surprised you in a good way, meaning I did not expect that, or this season from this team.
Well, that's an easy one. I mean, you look at the projections. D1 baseball had the University of Texas finishing ninth in the SEC this year. Well, they've been number one forever. Now, I think LSU just passed them up today because Texas has lost 2 series in a row. But that's a team that was projected to finish ninth, I think, in the coaches poll, finished ninth in the D1 preseason poll. And look how good they have been all year long. I mean, they went 7 straight series and they've lost their last 2, but still it's been a phenomenal year. Another one for me is Ole Miss. They had Ole Miss projected to finish 14th, I think, in the coaches poll, and 15th. D1 baseball had them finished second to the last, and yet they're going to be in postseason play with a 14-13 record. They'll be in the NCAA tournament. So Mike Bianco has done a really, really good job. I think other than that, everything else is kind of held serve to me. When you take Texas A&M out of it, you take Texas out of it. It's all been, we knew Missouri would struggle. We kind of knew South Carolina and Paul Maneri's first year there. You know, he had some work to do there. They got some rebuilding to do there. So that's not been a big surprise. Auburn's got a really good team, y'all. I'm just telling you, Auburn is sneaky, sneaky good. And Vanderbilt has come on too, you know. And, man, it's just so many, you know, guys, I was adding this up. Out of 16 teams in the SEC this year, only 4 teams have not been swept this year. Only 4. And Arkansas had to win yesterday to keep it at 4. But it's been Alabama, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee are the only 4 teams in the SEC that has not been swept this year. I've never seen so many sweeps. And it just goes to show you the strength of this conference and how you can be on top of the world one weekend and think you got all your ducks in a row, and then you bring your B game somewhere and you just get torched on the weekend. And that's what we're seeing now. It's like, man, you better, I mean, look at Florida. Florida drops their first 4 SEC series. Now they've won 5 in a row. I mean, it's kind of one end of the spectrum to the other with some of these teams. We mentioned A&M, how they terrible, really good, could beat anybody, and then they lay an egg this weekend. You know, it's just like, you can't figure this stuff out, you know? And so everybody's asking me, well, who's the favorite? And all, you know what I've been saying? Whoever gets hot at the right time. But when I look at this, man, when I look at Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, any of those teams for me, if they start playing the best they can play, any of those teams can win a national championship. And all we got to do is go back to Ole Miss, about 4 years ago, with one of the last 4 teams in the tournament, right? And peaked at the right time, had to go on the road for a regional, had to go to Southern Miss and Hattiesburg for a super regional, and then to the College World Series and win it all. And they were the last 4 teams in. So when people say, hey, Ben, who's winning this thing? I say, whoever's playing the best when it matters the most. That's who's going to win this thing. Because I feel like all these teams are talented enough to win a national championship.
Ben, I got to ask you, because I can explain a lot. I can figure out things on my own. I'm a baseball guy myself, but there's one thing that just eats at me, and I am absolutely fascinated by it. And it's Coach Bianco at Ole Miss. Every time his team is just left for dead for the rest of the season, he gets hot, storms back, and puts himself back in front again. And I don't understand
Yeah.
how in the world he does it. If he could write a book, if he could bottle it up any kind of way, he would make 10, 100 times more than what he makes as a coach. But what is he doing over there? Because we have seen this decade after decade out of Bianco. His team is left for dead, and he comes storming back and he makes a run. How is he doing this?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he's like nut grass, that old nut's edge. You can't kill it. Like you can throw all the Roundup on it you want to, you can't kill it. You know, I mean, well, I'll tell you this about Mike, and you guys know this. He obviously played at LSU,
Right.
played there when I was there, and of course, his mentor was Skip Bertman, and Skip was the best ever at getting his teams to peak at the right time. And Skip used to not purposely lose, but purposely put himself behind the 8 ball in games early in the year to bring certain kids in to see if they could actually perform at that level. And he was willing to lose a game or lose a series to find out. But by the time he did that over the course of the season, he got to the back part of the season, he kind of knew who his dudes were, who he could count on, who had been in the fire before. And then he would take his best 9 and his best pitchers and he would roll with it. And that's how he won and was so successful doing it. I think Mike does that a lot of ways too. He knows the end game is just to get into the tournament after what they did a few years ago, but he knew it way before then. The end game is getting in, but the real game is, can you make your guys and can you have them peaking at the right time? And I'll agree with you this. I love me some Ole Miss fans, but some of those fans just really aggravate the hell out of me about Mike Bianco. They want him. If he starts off bad, they're trying to fire him. If you're doing this, they're trying. I'm like, just shut up already. They're going to build a statue of him out there. Look at the facilities you have. Look at the success. Mike's been a huge part of taking over Ole Miss baseball and putting it towards the top of college baseball over the years. Enjoy what you have now. There'll be a time where Mike Bianco will retire. It's coming soon, most probably. But, man, appreciate the guy and what he's done for your university, what he continues to do, and respect what he's been able to do on the baseball field. And also respect how he turns these young kids into grown men by the time they leave there. And I told somebody this story the other day. As a parent that sent his son off to play college baseball, you want the coach to take him and make him a better baseball player. But what's more important to me is you're trusting that coach in a very vulnerable time in a young man's career in his life to shape him and mold him into being a man both on and off the field. And when I think about that, I think about Mike Bianco. I would trust any of my kids with that guy right there because I know he's going to be hard on them. He's going to teach them on and off the field. And when they leave that university, they're going to be better than what they were when they got there, both on the field and off the field.
So, Ben, the last game that I want to talk about from this past weekend, before we dive into this weekend, is the incredible comeback of Alabama against Georgia. And what I mean by that, Friday, they were absolutely, just dog pounded 19-3. Then came back on Sunday and won 9-3 and 5-4 to upset number 6 Georgia. Give us your breakdown of Alabama's incredible comeback from that 19-3 defeat to winning the series.
Yeah, we're seeing this, and that's something else I want to get the researchers on is how many teams have been 10-run ruled this year? I think almost everybody has. Like, everybody's taken a beating at some point in time. But you guys, you know what happens like on Friday nights, and you mentioned that score, Stingray, right? When you get down a lot, it's not like you're giving up if you're way down, but you are starting to put relievers in the game that are not your high leverage situation guys. So all of a sudden it's 8-1 in the 5th inning. You're not bringing in one of your best relievers. You're bringing in a guy that hadn't been real good for you, but he could be that night. If he's hot, he could get going for you, but a lot of times it doesn't work out. And all of a sudden 8-2 in the 5th inning becomes 12-3 in the 7th, and then 15-4 in the 8th and the 9th inning. And that's kind of what we see, is because when these coaches get down, man, in a ball game, they're worried about the rest of the weekend. And so they ain't running out their top 4 or 5 relievers. They're running out some dudes that maybe he can keep us in the game. I hope he does, but I don't know. And that's why I think you're seeing so much disparity in between runs and a lot of guys getting 10-run rules. So you save your guys. And then that's the great thing about baseball, isn't it, right? You just get boat raced on a Friday night, but you look at it and you go, hey, you know what? Hey, we got Saturday and Sunday, guys, and we can come back and win this thing. And that's what's so great about baseball is, we got beat up, but you know what? We're going to punch back on Saturday and Sunday, and that's just what Alabama did. So that's what makes this game a great game. I'll take you back to the College World Series finals. Remember a couple of years ago when LSU won it, they won really big in game 1, and then they lost hugely in game 2. But Jay Johnson saved a lot of his better arms because he was out of it early, and then he was back into rolling to game 3, where there was a really back and forth game and a very close game. And so that's how coaches are starting to play it now in these 3-game series.
Tony Vitello, I know you're a fan. Tony has done nothing but amazing things at Tennessee. But I heard Steve Robertson, a beat writer for Mississippi State, he was talking about Tony on his podcast and praising him. But he said, Tony went to Omaha, played at that ballpark the first time he took Tennessee there, and it was 2 and a Q. I mean, they played 2 and went home. And he said, they were a launch angle team. They were a long ball team, and they got to Omaha, and that park plays big. You just can't, gorilla ball that thing out. Now, they have changed some things. They moved the fence in a little bit, all that fun stuff. But Tony adapted his team, and we saw that going forward. And, he won it all last year. And so credit to Tony with that. But can you talk about that ballpark? Because you've called, I don't know how many World Series you've called, but I know it's got to be more than a dozen. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, look, I remember when they went to the BB Corbett and we were in Omaha, and there was a total of 3 home runs hit, guys, in the entire series that year. Like 21 or 22 games, they hit 3 homers. Like it was a joke. As you mentioned, we've changed some things over the year. The park is gettable now. It's gettable for the big guys. And Tennessee obviously almost set the national record with home runs last year. So it was gettable for them. When the wind blows out there and you get that wind blowing out, even though it's a big ballpark, ball jumps pretty good. Where you can't hit home runs is when it really blows in hard from center field. It makes it really tough to get a ball out there. And so, and here's a tricky thing about Omaha. You can't really change who you are over the course of 60-something games in the regular season and in the tournament and the regionals, and then try to play a different style of baseball all of a sudden when you Omaha. That's not doable to do that, And so that's why I feel like the teams, they can do a little bit of everything. They can beat you a lot of different ways, or the teams that do really well in Omaha. In other words, you got to be able to pitch and you got to be able to play defense. But you also got to be able to bunt every now and then. You got to be able to steal a base every now and then. You got to be able to hit and run. And, of course, be able to hit a home run from time to time. And Tennessee was all that last year. They had, the number 1 pitching staff, one of the top defenses out there. They led the nation in home runs per game. But they could also run a little bit. They could steal some bases. And so when you get to Omaha, to me, it's the most complete team there that finds its way in the finals a lot of times. But having said that, what we talked about 10 minutes ago, whoever's playing their best ball. And when you're playing your best ball, you got a chance to win it.
So, Ben, hold that thought, because we're up against our final break. And when we come back, we are going to dive into some of the series from this weekend, including Florida and Alabama and Arkansas versus Tennessee, and talk about your career in Major League Baseball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to The Stingray Show. We will finish it up with Ben McDonald right after this. Hey Tuscaloosa, it's time to start planning your incredible weekend at Iron City Comic-Con. Guests will include Sean Ashton from The Goonies and Lord of the Rings, Matthew Lewis from Harry Potter, Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and for any of you wrestling fans out there, Jake the Snake Roberts, Lex Luger, and Devon Dudley. They all will be at Iron City Comic Con, and Iron City Comic Con is May 31st through June the 1st at the BJCC. For more information, look up them on Facebook at the Iron City Comic Con and grab your tickets today. Ben, I tell you, man, every year we get to this point, and there is one team that I feel like desperately needs to get the monkey off of its back because they have had the worst luck ever since the championship series in Omaha against Oregon State. The Arkansas Razorbacks. They somehow cannot find a way to get back to Omaha. Ben, you just got through watching this Arkansas team this weekend. Is this the team to finally get the Hogs back to Omaha?
I think it very well could be. And I said several times when I looked at the numbers from Arkansas going in, and I got them right here in front of me from the game yesterday. But they may be, if you look at the numbers, the most complete team in the entire country. And I'll tell you why. Number one in the SEC in batting average, fourth in pitching, third in home runs, first in fielding percentage, and second in the country, and first in the SEC in runs per game and eighth in the country overall in runs per game. So you tell me what Arkansas can't do. Now, people will say what they can't do, they can't beat LSU. Well, no, they didn't beat LSU this weekend. But on any given weekend, you flip-flop this series, you put it in Fayetteville, I bet you Arkansas wins 2 out of 3. Okay? And so Arkansas, to me, and here's the other piece of this, guys. They're getting some guys back from injury, too. I mean, they've had a pretty incredible season, and now they're getting a few guys. Parker Coyle came back, the left-handed reliever, was so good. He came back this past weekend. They just got their number 2 guy on Saturday. Remember, he was out for 8 weeks with a shoulder issue. They got him back this weekend. And so they're getting some guys back. Now, here's the downside for Arkansas that I see. And they have positioned themselves to be a top 8 national seed. There's no doubt. But the problem I'm seeing with Arkansas right now, they have lost 4 of their last 5 SEC weekends all of a sudden. And now you got a very hungry Tennessee team coming to Fayetteville. Okay, that's going to be the biggest series next weekend. That's the biggest one because Tennessee, as you guys know, desperately needs to win something, right? They've lost 4 in a row, and Arkansas has lost 4 out of 5 SEC weekends. But what I'm getting at for Arkansas, if they mess around and lose against Tennessee at home, now they're going to drop 5 of their last 6 SEC series, and I think the selection committee is going to go, wait a minute. Is this really a top 8 national seed if they've lost 5 of their last 6? So for me, Arkansas is in a danger zone big time right now. Like they need to win. Now, here's the other piece of that. Since 2016, every team that has won 20 or more games in the SEC has been a top 8 national seed. So Arkansas is sitting at 18 right now. So back to my point, if they win 2 this weekend, they get to 20, they knock off Tennessee, and it's going to be hard to keep them out of the top 8 now, even though they would have lost 4 of their last 6 series. But to me, they got to win a series this weekend. They have to beat Tennessee. If they don't, I don't know that they're a top 8 national seed unless they go to Hoover, and it's possible, and just run the table in Hoover and make it all the way to the finals or something. Then you can make the case that, okay, they're back again.
Ben, I have a funny but yet depressing Vacation Bible School question for you. If there was a final in Omaha with Arkansas and Florida State, would the world end? Because both of those fan bases want that national championship. I've gotten so close. So close. And neither one of them have done it. Would the world end if we had Florida State and Arkansas?
I don't know if it'll end, but we might have a hell of a storm and an earthquake somewhere, maybe a tidal wave somewhere, But yeah, I mean, listen, it's they've been what, Dave's been 9 times, I think, to Omaha. I think he went twice with Nebraska, maybe 7 times with Arkansas, been so close. And Mike Martin, bless his soul. I mean, how many times did he go and couldn't win one? To show you how tough it is to win. I mean, look at the last 5 national titles. All 5 SEC schools, all 5 different programs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how hard it is. You're not seeing guys repeat anymore. You're just not seeing it because it's so hard to win it. You got to be lucky and you got to be good and you got to be playing your best to win the whole thing because the competition is just too good, And so, but that's what makes it a great game. That's what makes it. And look, the last couple of years, man, it's been so great at Omaha. We've had such good games and good fan base out there. I hope this year is exactly the same.
So, Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot. If the season ended today, how many teams from the SEC do you have getting in the field for college baseball?
If it ended today, I got 12 in because I think Mississippi State is 1 win short. They've got 12 right now. Having said that, I think they're going to get to 13 or 14. Who does State have this weekend?
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay, yeah. So even though Missouri just slayed the Giant this weekend in their minds, I still think State wins 2 out of 3 and they get to 14 wins there. So I think we're going to get now A&M again. That's the wild card. I feel pretty confident saying we got 14. No, I would say 13 in right now, and then A&M could be your 14th team. But I mean, it's going to be tough for those guys at Georgia. Y'all know how tough it is.
Oh yeah. Ben, I made this joke the past couple of years, but this isn't really a joke. This is more of a fact. But I'm going to ask you this question: who has more credibility, a small southern town cheerleading tryout committee, or the selection committee when they're handing out national seeds and who's hosting? Because this has been a joke the last couple of years. They have gotten it wrong many times.
I always used to tune in to sports because there wasn't politics in sports. And I thought that was the one place that we could all go and watch a nice football game or watch a basketball game or a baseball game and not hear some idiot talk about politics. But the more I watch this selection committee, I feel like there's a lot of politicking going on sometimes with some certain coaches or ex-coaches that used to be on the panel that, hey, you scratch my back one year, I'll scratch your back the next, because guys, I'm for the best. I don't buy, and I fight people all the time from different parts and regions of the country that try to say, well, we need so many West Coast teams. We need so many East Coast teams. We need so many Midwestern teams. And I go, no,
the best 64.
That's not what we want. We need the best teams. That's what I want to see. To play in the NCAA tournament, that's a reward for you getting there. I don't care where they come from. I don't care if they're all in the SEC. I don't care if they're all in the Big Ten. I don't care where they come from. I want to see the best teams get in. That's what I want to see. That's what makes it good. Everybody says, well, it'd be better if we had all the maybe, but I still want to see the best teams get in. That's right. And look, I'll go on record. I said this already. I'm not a fan of all 16 teams getting invited to Hoover. I am not. This is not where everybody gets a trophy. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I consider Hoover, and I consider that's postseason play. You play well during the regular season, it gives you an opportunity to get to postseason play. It's a reward for playing well. And in my opinion, everybody doesn't deserve to be there.
Right.
Because you didn't play well enough to get there. But yet, and people say, well, let's just give them a chance. At least they got no, they had a chance. They played 60 regular season games, and you see where they are right now. They had a chance, right? And I said, so what's next? Are we going to let everybody in the NCAA tournament, all 300 teams? Is that what y'all want to do? So, no, I'm not a fan of that. I think it should be like 12 or 13, maybe 14 teams if you want to do that, get in the SEC tournament. And then you put the best 64 in.
Yes.
I'm with you.
So, Ben, we have thoroughly enjoyed this interview. My final thing for you, we're going to end hopefully on a funny story. You have played and you played a while for a lot of Major League Baseball. What is your all-time favorite go-to Major League Baseball story that involves you that gets a lot of laughs that you could share with us, please?
Probably the one that most people find fascinating and most people like is the story with me and Cal Ripken Jr. and Chris Hoyles. I got to the big leagues, as you guys know, at 21 years old. I had 2 starts in the minor leagues after I left LSU and went straight to the big leagues. Skip Bertman called every pitch I ever threw at LSU, and he'd put down Mike Bianco would put down the fingers. Yeah, fastball, I can do that. Curveball, I got one of those. Forkball, yeah, I can do that. Changeup, I got one of those. But I never thought of how to set up hitters. Like whatever the finger put down location, I could just do it. So I get the pro ball 2 months later. I'm in the big leagues, and now you got to call your own game. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to read bats and set up hitters. I've never had to do it before. So you fast forward to early next year, and I'm in the rotation, and I had a rough outing, and Chris Hoyles is a young catcher, and Cal Ripken sticks his head in there. Me and Chris Hoyles are in there drinking a beer after one game, just butting our heads up against the wall, trying to figure out what went wrong and how can we get better at this. And Cal looks in there and he goes, "You boys don't have a clue what you're doing, do you?" And I raised my eye and said, "No, sir, Mr. Ripken, I don't have a clue of what I'm doing. I'll be honest with you." And he said, he pulled up a chair next to us, and he grabbed him a beer, and he popped him open a beer. We were all sitting there drinking a beer, just us 3. And he said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do." He said, "I'm going to start calling every pitch for you from the shortstop position until you guys get it figured out." And I said, hold up. I said, "How are you going to stand out at shortstop and call pitches?" He said, "Don't you worry about that, Ben. I'm going to take care of that with Chris." And what I later found out, Cal would be at the shortstop position, and where he would position his hand on his chest or he would put his glove, it was funny. I'd be looking in for the signal, and I could see Chris Hoyles' eyes, my catcher, and his eyes weren't focused on me. They were focused over this shoulder right here because he looked at Cal. And Cal, wherever Cal put his glove or his hand, is the pitch and the location. So we did this the entire season. And Cal Jr. said this. He said, "I'll do this as long as it stays in this triangle right here. If the manager, if the pitching coach, or anybody else finds out about it, I'm out." I said, "Yes, sir. We're good." Well, all of a sudden, I started having success. We start winning ball games. And we would sit down every night after my game, and we'd crack open a couple beers, and we would talk about the game. "Ben, this is why we pitched Paul Molitor like this in this situation. This is why we pitched Dave Winfield. This is why we pitched Kirby Puckett. This is why we pitched Wade Boggs like this in this situation." I never thought about those things. So that was my learning curve. And for 27 starts that year, he called every pitch I threw, and then we had a class after the game. That was my learning model for it. And then finally, the last 3 or 4 starts of the year, he comes to us before the game. He goes, "You guys are good. You got it figured out now. I'm going to be right here at shortstop. If you need me, call me in." But that was my maturing process and my learning process at the big league level. Cal Ripken Jr. stood at shortstop and called almost every pitch I threw that year.
Wow. Ben, you mentioned a lot of Hall of Famers just then. Out of all the Hall of Famers that you faced, who did you have the most success against?
I pitched Boggs really well. I had good luck against Boggs. Who else? Donnie Mattingly. I know he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's close, but I had a lot of luck against Mattingly. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Harold Baines hit me pretty good. I was glad to play with Harold Baines when he came to Baltimore because he hit me really good. But yeah, those guys are Hall of Famers for a reason, you know. And there's always a few guys that no matter who they are, you can get them out, whether they're good players or bad. I had some really bad players that weren't great hitters have a lot of success off me, and I've had a lot of success off some really, really good hitters. So it's just different. You know, I had good luck against Will Clark. He may be in the Hall of Fame one day, you know. Right. So it just depends on how that your eye sets up and what you're doing and how you're pitching when you face those guys.
I got to ask real quick, what was it against Boggs? How did you pitch Boggs and you were successful?
You know what I learned about Boggs? Boggs had that reputation, and he deserved it, where they weren't going to call a strike on Boggs unless he swung at it. Like, you could almost throw it down the middle. It was going to be ball 1 if he didn't swing at it. So what I quickly learned about Boggs, I was going to fill up the strike zone and make him put the ball in play and hope like hell he hit it to somebody, because he wasn't going to strike out very often. I only struck out a handful of times, but you just learn certain hitters. You learn their tendencies. Every hitter has a hole somewhere. You just got to figure out where that hole is, and then do you have the ability to be able to get that ball to that certain place where you can have success, you know. And the game's changed now from what it was years ago. We really pitched years ago. Now I feel like it's a stuff game where we're going to out velo you and we're going to outspin you and we're going to do all these kind of things. We just challenge you over the white part of the plate and get you out. We don't pitch as much as we used to pitch. We throw in a lot of ways now. But look, it's working at the big league level. It's working.
So Ben, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule up in Baltimore to talk a little SEC ball with us. And if there are any Orioles fans down here in the South listening, please let everybody know where they can tune in and listen and watch you call the Baltimore games for the next 2 weeks.
Well, we're going to be, and again, I appreciate you guys having. I love catching up with you guys once a year. It's always fun, and look, there's a lot of Oriole fans that are SEC fans too.
Yeah.
And they follow the greatest conference in the entire country. They follow the SEC in football. They follow it in baseball. They follow it in basketball. Was tremendous in the SEC this year. Gymnastics. So the SEC continues to be the dominant conference. A lot of folks up here in the Northeast do follow the SEC, believe it or not. But we're going to be on the Masson Network. It's the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. It's the Baltimore Orioles network, and you can find the games there. We can start off 3-game series tomorrow night against the Minnesota Twins, who are one of the hottest teams in baseball. They've won 8 games in a row now, and so the Orioles have to face them. And the Orioles are just trying to get going, man. It's been a little bit of a disappointing year so far with a lot of injuries, and hopefully those guys are going to get going. And so we'll be on Masson tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern time. So if people are watching, check us out.
Yes, sir.
Ben, as we walk out the door, I know we lost Bob Uecker this year. You played a little bit in Milwaukee. What were your thoughts when we lost Uecker?
Man, you talk about a character, a guy. You were talking about a baseball lifer that loved the game of baseball. He was a rock star, man. When I played 2 years with the Milwaukee Brewers, this man sat in first class on the plane. He had the first seat on the bus. And when we get off at places, people didn't want the players' autographs. They lined up to get Bob Uecker's autograph. That's what they would walk right past me and Greg Vaughn and John Jaha to get to Bob Uecker. And I don't blame them, because my time spending with him, man, was the stories. You know how it is, guys. I mean, it's so many stories, but the way he presented those stories in total, I don't know if there was a better storyteller in the game of baseball that I've ever been around. Maybe Rick Sutcliffe is the closest second thing to Bob Uecker, but Bob Uecker was a legend in our game, in our world, and he is going to be missed in more ways than one.
So, Ben, look, man, thank you. Enjoy your time up in Baltimore. Be safe over the next 2 weeks, and we look forward to hearing you when the regionals and the super regionals return this season in baseball. And I'm actually going next week to the SEC tournament, and I hate I'm going to miss you, my friend.
I know I'm not going to be there, but hey, you're going to enjoy yourself, man. The tournament, to me, I mean, you could make a case that tournament is harder to win than it is to win Omaha. I mean, that's how tough it is to win that tournament. So I'll be following it from a distance. I'll be up here in Baltimore for the next 2.5 weeks, or wherever the Orioles are going to be. But I'll be watching, tuning in whenever I can, for sure.
You will be in Omaha this year, won't you, Ben?
Oh, yeah, I'll be in Omaha. Yep, I'll be there.
You know what? I said it was my last question. I lied. Do you like the new stadium or the old? I know the old stadium was falling apart, and the press box was old, and everything was crummy in that, and the new ballpark's beautiful and nice. But I miss the old ballpark. I miss Rosenblatt.
I'll be honest with you. It's kind of like when the old box and the new box at LSU. I didn't like the new box at first. It's grown on me over the years. Same way, Rosenblatt, man, the different painted colored seats in the outfield around the ballpark, the smell of the cotton candy, smell the popcorn. I can still smell that stuff and see those seats today. And so I was not a fan of that new ballpark at first, but I'll be honest with you, it has grown on me. We've had so many great games in Omaha at that new ballpark now. I'll always miss Rosenblatt, but I'm pretty comfortable where we are now. It's a different kind of ballpark. It's much bigger. It's harder to hit home runs, as we know, but it's a cool place too. It's a cool place.
So, Ben, we're not going to keep you any longer. We know that you've got to get to a meeting for the Orioles. Go have a blast, and we would love to catch up with you, hopefully, if your schedule will permit, right before regionals and then super regionals, my friend.
Sounds like a plan. We'll do it. I look forward to it, and I'll be following this college baseball best I can, and I look forward to the postseason, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's always a pleasure and a blast. Thank you, sir.
Anytime, guys. Y'all be good.
And Ben, since you're up there with the Orioles, I'll go on ahead and say it. Go Tigers, my friend.
Good. I like to say go O's. I'm teaching these folks up here how to spell go. It's Geaux. And so I'm teaching them up here.
Thank you, Ben. This has been a blast.
Y'all take care.
All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben McDonald, my friend, and Heath, we went the entire show talking nothing but SEC, college, and a little Major League Baseball. How about that?
Dude, we talked about hitting. We talked about defense. We talked about pitching. We talked about velo and spin rates. We talked about coaching changes, NIL, transfer portal. We talked a little bit about regional. We talked about the road to Hoover, going to the road of Omaha. Stuck in a little MLB and some storytelling about Bob Uecker, and he talked about Wade Boggs, several Hall of Famers. Dude, that was a super jam-packed show. If you're any kind of baseball fan, you got a ton out of that one, and you're welcome.
So, Heath, tomorrow evening, which is Thursday, Alabama finishes up the regular season with a 3-game series Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the road at Florida. We will be on immediately following the Alabama-Florida game, game 1, tentatively around 9 p.m. We will see you then with another interview-based show. Have a wonderful Thursday out there, guys, and we will catch you tomorrow evening after Alabama and Florida, game number 1, tentatively around 9 p.m. tomorrow evening.
Stingray says interview based. I call it good old storytelling.
Yes. But regardless, tomorrow evening, 9 o'clock, is our next show.
Looking forward to it. Hey, if you didn't know from this show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it. Stingray Show. It's the best thing going today, baby.